So today we're going to do forest bathing with my friend Dearies and my friend Joe Bell.
Yes.
And Sister Mitchell up there in front of us.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome back to GoneMad Productions. Can you hear me now with Lady Madeline, my co-host, Vicky Merriweather? How y'all doing today?
We're good, doing real
We have a
good.
special guest with us today. I'm not going to say his nickname, but y'all know him as, I knew it. Dearies. Cotton. Also known as Yogi,
Yes.
Gotta throw that in there a little bit. How you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing so good, and I'm so glad to be here with y'all.
We are so glad to have you. Now,
Yes.
listen, we're talking about forest bathing. Y'all saw that little clip out there. What I need to know, how does a over 6 foot black man get into forest bathing and yoga and all of that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Ex-football player, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes.
Talk to us now.
Yes. Well, I'm an ex-football player. My name's Dearies Cotton. I'm also a mental health therapist in Texas. You can follow me at all platforms at Me and You Therapy. But I want to just share more about my story.
Yeah.
And so, me being a football player and doing yoga really just kind of transcended to my injury I had playing football. And so I had a back injury, L4, L5. It was career ending, and it really brought me and transitioned me into yoga, which is another form of wellness. It was so good for my back, so good for my mind, so good for my spirit, and it was just transformative for me. And so as a therapist, I'm really just wanting to share different ways that we can engage in therapy, engage in wellness, and all the things.
I love that, and especially in our community, it's interesting to me as a football player, recognizing the work that it goes into building up your muscles. But now you're talking about yoga and this forest bathing. How is that a little bit? What is forest bathing first and foremost?
Yes. Forest bathing is taking some time to be in the nature. It's taking some time to be present, and it's really from a Japanese tradition. Where they have done for years, thousands of years. And so people have been doing this for years. It's just not something I created, but we're using our space here in Austin to be more present and to get out in nature, to unplug, to put our phones away. And so we're able to have some community as well. So we get together and we walk around specifically in the forest in a specific path that we've kind of curated together. Me and another therapist, and so we start off with some grounding, we start off with some breathing, some gentle movements, some yoga, if you will, just to kind of step away from the day, step away from everything that we may have brought in, anything that may have just be heavy for us, and we kind of shake that off. We move our bodies a little bit, we ground, we get to know each other a little bit more, and maybe some new people coming in this group, different people come each time, and so then we kind of get into nature and we walk around. We go into this path. There's water trails. People are taking their shoes off, putting their feet in the water. People are sitting down on trees, being more present, breathing, just meditating and taking their time.
It sounds like, I'm going to get to Vicky because Vicky actually got a chance to go and do it. But it sounds like it's an opportunity, you said it a couple of times, to be present, to just be. How was that for you, Vicky, when you went?
It was relaxing because what we do, I was sharing earlier, it seems like we get in this period of time where we're always rushed and we are overwhelmed with the things that we have to do, and those things on our minds, it's hard to clear. And which is crazy because the forest bathing helps me get into a state where I can clear my mind so I can think better.
Right.
You know, so out there, you're laying on the ground and you're stretching and doing the grounding piece, feeling the earth, the energy from that, and listening. It's like you're using everything in you to hear, to see, your sight, your touch, your smell. That's sad. The other, you know, the senses. You're hearing, you're experiencing the world around you, the nature.
Right.
You're not the busy, like the traffic and the horns and the screaming and all that. You're hearing the sounds of nature, and it really does ground you and kind of keep you from. It makes you think. It makes you open up to what's around you.
And we're not able to do that all the time.
Not at all.
You know?
And I think just being able to do that makes me more aware of how much more I need to do it, number one, so that when I come back into said spaces where I am moving and working, that I remember to stop and open up so I can understand where I am at that moment, even just mentally and physically.
Yeah, and you know, especially right now, you know, it's holiday season.
Yes.
For many, it's very celebratory, and you're with family and friends, and it can be exciting. But there's also a population where it's sad. We just had an election. There's all this uncertainty. People are just on edge.
Yeah.
So with this type of forest bathing and yoga, what are some things that this can help with?
Yeah, oh, man, that's such a good question. I think for one, even me stepping into it and being along other good people, it brings community, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, you know, people are challenged because sometimes there's some seasonal depression that comes along.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we are thinking everyone wants to be thankful, everybody wants to be happy during Christmas and Thanksgiving, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people are alone. Sometimes people, and it could just be you work from home, right? It doesn't have to be I don't have friends. It doesn't have to be I'm depressed, quote unquote. It could be that you just are in a system, an ecosystem, to where you're not around people a lot, or maybe you are struggling being social. Or whatever the case, but this just gives you an opportunity to get out the house, to be around other like-minded, good-minded people. You have an agenda, some things set out. You don't have to think. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to go.
You said something just a minute ago, and it hit me. We have more and more people working at home. More and more people who are put into an isolated situation that may not even realize they haven't been around community. And so they may be internalizing things and not even realizing because, it's where it's coming from. So being in a space like you're talking about, to actually go and just sit for a minute and be in touch and be present, but with other people.
Right.
There's an energy that just gives you, I just feel like there's this synergy that grows and a connection. Right?
I think too, you know, is because the one part I didn't mention is the breath work.
Yeah.
You know, it's the breathing and taking the time to breathe correctly. Because most times we take in air just so we can keep walking or keep moving, or keep living.
Yeah.
But it's a certain way we can breathe.
Yeah.
And it's cleansing. It's really being out in nature, which we don't do. You know, we're in urban areas a lot of times, and we don't think, it's important for me to get outside and connect with the grass, the trees, the air, the sun, or even if it's raining, the rain.
Yeah, that's so good. And you what I'm thinking is kind of adding on to what you were saying is sometimes we got to put some self-care on our calendar.
There it is.
You know?
Yeah.
We going through the hustle and bustle. We picking up the kids. We dropping off the kids. We doing the work. We cooking. We cleaning. We washing. And so we doing all that. And sometimes we hadn't took time to get away.
Yeah.
You know, we hadn't took time to get away, so we got to put some time on the calendar. And like you mentioned, Vicky, like just us putting our feet, our hands in the grass, that releases some things for us to feel more clarity.
It does.
You know, just being in a different environment can be so transformative for us sometimes.
It is.
So there is something about, I got to remember what this is, but as a therapist, and even in your spaces of meditation, someone said if you take, I don't know if it's jasmine or peppermint, and put it at the bottom of your feet, like your foot is a pathway into your system. Is that true?
I believe so, because it's crazy when my kids would get sick.
Yeah.
Old school thing, they tell you to take off the socks and run,
Yeah.
lay them on the feet, and put some socks on, and they would wake up clean, right?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm just thinking there's something to that.
Yeah.
And the massaging of the feet, and you're right, the peppermint or some kind of some oil, I guess peppermint, lavender. I like lavender.
Lavender too, yeah.
And mint, whatever makes that you open up more is good for you. We don't recognize sight, sound, smell,
Yes.
the things.
Taste,
all of that is important to how we move, and it's simple. We always think, like you say, self-care. I've got to go to this. And I'm one of them. I want to go to a resort. Don't get me wrong. I want to go do all this stuff, but we don't have to get outside of
And spend money.
Yep.
not a lot.
Right.
We can do things right there in our homes. Because I used to have clients and they said, Miss Vicki, I don't have a backyard. Grow plants in a pot on your balcony.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. Put plants in your life. Have greenery, because I know when I moved to a certain city away from Austin, and at that time Austin had a lot of trees, right? And I get in a space where there's no trees, and it was depressing for me. So being in that space, and can you imagine growing up in a space in an area where there's no greenery, no trees? There are spaces we can go to, but because we don't think, I need to get outside, I need to get to some green, I need to get to a tree.
Right.
We don't understand the importance of that.
You're right. I don't think we really recognize how connected we are
To nature.
nature.
Ashes to ashes,
Dust to dust.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we know it, but I don't think we really are in tune when the moon does certain things, and connect that. And I'm not saying I know there are people that have a religion and all of that, but there's some truth to.
A lot of truth to it.
When this is life.
Yeah.
All of this is a living organism, and we're all connected by that. So when we eliminate our being outside and breathing, it does something physically to our bodies that we might not even be realizing what's going on. And just recently we started this walking and drinking our water.
Get out there.
And I've noticed I just sometimes have to walk outside and just go. And it feels like things are just being released.
And that's so true. Just a simple breath. Believe it or not, I'm teaching my clients a lot of times to just inhale and exhale intentionally. And that's such a good tool to help us self-regulate. Why? Because we're in this, we can get flustered, don't know why we're flustered, and so we take a deep breath, and you're like, okay, I feel a little bit better. Like, I got a little bit more clarity, and it takes time to do that, so you've stepped away from that situation and have given yourself some regulation. Before you may have been too high, tensions may have been too high. So you're so right. Like, just coming back to your breath is such a good way. Anytime, stepping outside for a moment and going back to it, it's free.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything.
No, it does not.
It doesn't. And I had to do that, matter of fact, today. And so for me, like, even breathing, like, I take a breath to breathe. But when I got stressed earlier today, I had to take an intentional breath to clear my mind.
Yeah.
And it was different. Like, I literally had to close my eyes and focus on the breath coming in. And then, and as I pushed out, I felt like I was just releasing my frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, when I need to breathe, because I can't breathe, I'm doing that. But there's a difference when you're intentional about the stress part or whatever you need to release.
It's releasing that stress. I really do believe that. It's
Yes.
releasing that stress. It's kind of clogged up, and we're releasing the tension a little bit more.
My husband will have to tell me, oh, I can't talk to you right now because you're getting, and I don't even realize that sometimes, and then I've got to go like me. Okay, let me get that out.
Yeah.
But you know, it also helps when I do it, because a lot of times I'll do it to not say stuff. It's like, okay, let me just take a deep breath
Yeah.
and clear my mind. And it's like, you know, my favorite one is the back up, breathe, and be quiet kind of stuff. Depending on the order, sometimes I got to back up before I can even breathe. And stuff. It's like, let me back up out of it, you know, but the breathing is back up, breathe, and be quiet. But the breathing keeps me quiet and allows me to back up. And not necessarily physically back up, but just take a moment before I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or make a decision that I don't need to make.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And that's such a good thing because we can get caught up. We're in a conversation, and a lot of times people don't use that, and they end up saying something they didn't want to say.
Yeah. And it causes me to listen. It helps me to get in a space where I can hear. And it, you know, again, it goes back. I laughed the forest bathing because the first time I told somebody we were doing it, I don't know who it was. You gonna go outside and you gonna bathe in the forest naked? Like, no, that is not what this is.
That's really getting in tune with nature, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Take it somewhere else. No, that's not. It's just getting immersed into the forest. Yeah.
And but you know what? When you're immersed in that environment, other senses begin to be activated.
Yes.
And you may not even realize that you had those senses in your body. You know what I mean? Like, I know when I do a nature walk and I'm walking, I hear things differently. My body feels differently. I respond differently because I'm in this environment. I'm being intentional about what I'm hearing and trying to figure out what type of, is that a cricket? Is that what type of insect or bug that's making that noise? What's that bird? It's just a different, you hear things differently.
Yeah.
You experience things because it's like the water, like on the clip. You hear that water, and it's amazing how clear that is. So, you know, didn't take shoes off and get in, but I did touch, and it was so clear, and it was cool, and you feel those things. Again, you're touching and you're feeling, and you're sensing things in a different way. You know, it's not as rushed.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of forced, I don't want to say forced, but you just get, you have an understanding of where you are and what life is really about.
Yeah.
And I laugh because the first time we did it, you know, you can get creative. Your creative mind opens up too. Listening to and watching what's going on around you.
So once you do that, like the forest bathing, I can imagine when you go into do the yoga. So from a yoga perspective, you know, it's interesting. You know, sometimes our culture has a negative thought about yoga. Can you explain kind of your how you brought in, or the difference between the Western yoga, Eastern yoga, and then what you kind of do here in Austin?
Yeah. Well, there is a difference between the Western philosophy and the Eastern philosophy in regards to yoga. When we think of the Western philosophy, it's more commercialized, more yoga, yoga tights, a cute little bag, and it's all this. You know, it's a lot of that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm in the outside scope of that because I don't wear yoga pants. I don't wear tight yoga pants, and to be honest, I'm just a big black male. I'm a larger black man, right? So I'm different. I'm like a unicorn in this.
Yes, you are.
I'm a unicorn in this space. And so when we think about the Eastern philosophy, it's tied to religion, and so it's tied to a way of being. And so you have a difference between yoga in some ways, because sometimes people can come into a yoga class and it's just exercise, versus an Eastern way of thinking. It was like a way of spirituality, a way of living. So what I do is I like to incorporate a little bit of both. I like to pay homage to the Eastern philosophy in regards to my attention, and making it pure in regards and accessible to all people. And so my whole philosophy in the name of my yoga company as well is yoga is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that means yoga's for men, yoga's for women, yoga's for people of all sizes and shapes. And as well, when I teach, I make it accessible in regards to the poses that we do, or the asanas is what they say, which means poses. And so to get into yoga, yoga is a broad acronym I like to uh, explain to people, but there's different ways you can get into yoga, to this way of being.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga is like a way of being. It's not an exercise. It's a way of being. So there's different entryways. Breathing is one. Breathing is a way to get to this way of being, of presence, of flow, of
Mm-hmm.
well-being. The asanas, the poses, is one way. You can be doing a pose, and let's say downward dog. You're in a V position, and you're bending knees, and your butt is in the air, your hips are high, and that could be good for your back, your lower back.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you if you've been standing all day. So for me, I love getting in that pose because it helps my back, and also like kind of gives me an inversion, a different way of I've been standing, my body posture, because now I'm not standing. I may be standing all day or talking to someone all day. So, I like to make yoga fun. I like to make it enjoyable. I like to make it. I like to even say, dad yoga for my guys, my men.
Mm-hmm.
That for my fathers or my men out there. That hey, it's accessible. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And then, let's say it is something more challenging. There's always something you can do. Like so, for instance, there's chair yoga. You can just be here in a warrior one in a chair for older individuals.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't really think there was a chair yoga.
Chair yoga, and I have friends that do that modality like in retirement homes, and they love it. They love it because it's an activity that they can do. They can sit at maybe instead of sitting here, they sit at the edge of their chair and they put their feet on the ground and they engage their core. And that's what they do for about a minute, right? It's something different, but it's attainable for all people. Or just breathing, going back to it. So there's so many different ways that I like to share with people. Breathing is like my number one way because going back to what we're talking about with breath, it's such a healthy, good tool that we can use at any point in time in our life, whether we're at the airport, whether we're at home, whether we're in we're talking to our partner, we're talking to our children, we can use it. Again, when we model it, it's a gift to others when we learn it, and then we can pass it on. But especially for people of color, and when I say people of color, I don't just mean black people. I mean Hispanic people, any people of color, right? There's sometimes a negative stigma towards these things, that we can't do it, we're not allowed to do it, and that's so not true. It's not true. It's inaccurate information.
Yeah, because that was going to be the next piece of, there's a recognizing there's a religious aspect and philosophy on the Eastern side that may be different from what we may believe in Western culture, but how do you, in the church, where we do need physical activity, where we do need stimulation in other ways, how do you approach the topic for believers who are a little bit like, I'm not sure how to venture into this because I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in that philosophy, but I do need some physical help. How do you bridge that?
That's such a good question as well. And I had a brother, I was actually at a church activity. It was a mental health church activity. And so there was a guy there that told me that he doesn't do yoga because he had been told that it's against God, it's against his God if he does yoga, because it's like another form of religion.
Right.
And so going back to misinformation, we can hear things even if we're young or at any age that could turn you off, depending on how deep the topic is. So I like to share that, for one, it isn't against God, or isn't against any God or anything like that, but it is something accessible and open to all people. And just be aware of who's teaching it
Yeah.
and the intention that they have whenever they are. And so with me teaching, I'm saying, hey, this is something good for you to do. This is something wellness. This is something I hope that you enjoy, that you find your peace in, and that's my whole intention whenever I practice. So I would hope if I'm talking to someone in the church, and I would explain to them, hey, this is just something that is good for you, and it's transferable in other ways of your life.
And so, so like with that, I'm sure it helps with our lymphatic system, and from a medical perspective,
Absolutely.
how does that? Like, how does the circulation? Like, how does that work? When we talk about, like, I see a lymphatic physical therapist that goes through and does different massages to help move the. So how does that? Is that the same type of thing with yoga?
I would think so. There is some research showing the connection between breath and how it can release, let's just say, negative chemicals in your body. And so I think that's really the connection, is just having those deep inhales, that intentional breath, and making it a practice can reduce, stress. And so stress, we have been told, is the killer, is that silent killer. So it's just being able to step into that, and some aware, like even just me saying that and somebody learning, hey, this is like a healthy pill. Like I like to say, this is like breathing is a pill, an imaginary pill that has all the good stuff, all the good chemicals, instead of a medicine. Yeah. And you can take it anytime.
So Vicky mentioned earlier about how we breathe. So can you demonstrate how we, like when we're trying to be intentional in our breathing, how does that look?
Yes. Okay. So I guess I'll just kind of do a short little meditation.
Okay, that's good.
Just a short little meditation. We'll do like 3 breaths together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like to just get in a nice.
These knees.
My eyes, look, see, see how we just changed our body posture already? We got nice and comfortable. I'm gonna even put my feet on the ground. Okay, so our feet are on the ground. You're in a nice comfortable position. Your palms can be up. Your palms can be down, either choice, or they can even be on your heart, right? And so this, when your hands are on your heart, you often can feel your breath. You can feel, even when you're talking, you can feel that vibration in your chest. And so on your chest, there's a vagus nerve. And so what we're doing when your hands are there is you're, for one, inviting compassion, right? This posture is a loving posture, okay? So we're here in a loving posture. We're changing our mindset to be a little bit more loving to ourselves, a little bit more compassionate, thankful for us being here, for the time that we have. We're going to bring your attention to your breath. Maybe feel your belly rise and lower. Feel your chest expand. And exhale. All right. Maybe you lengthen your spine through your hips, so you just have a tall spine. Relaxing your shoulders. We're just finding some ease in our body. That's all we're doing. Continue to feel your chest rise and lower. Maybe you notice that you feel that breath there. Okay, we're going to take 3 breaths together. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, release your breath. Inhale. Exhale, release your breath. Relax your shoulders. 1 more breath together. Inhale. Exhale. Release your breath.
Wow.
Yeah, there's all this.
Just gotta
feel a little bit better. I
Yeah,
feel just a little bit more.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that even just doesn't even take long. It feels like getting recentered. Yeah, just
you talked about the spiritual aspect of it, and I know for me, depending on how you do it, it's like here you mentioned the gratitude and the thankfulness, and which is a Christian concept.
Yes.
And the same if I do a breath work or if I'm in a meditation the other day, like we were outside, then I have my hands up. again is
Same thing we
to
do.
God. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Right, it's what you're thinking.
It's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about it a lot of times, and people do bring religion into it, I think, well, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
And what's your intent? And why are you doing it? My gratitude to God for me being here and for this space and being able to do this, and me worshiping at this point, because that's a worship posture.
Yeah.
So, I think about those things when
I think about that too, and I like that. Like, even when you were breathing, even though you were talking, I was already connecting. Like, I was like saying, okay, Lord, I'm thankful for this, just even the opportunity to be here and to breathe, and just for me, it was allowing me just to connect with Him for just focus a few minutes, and then so even if people didn't believe in the physical body benefits that you get from that, when you just take some time just to sit, I mean, we're so busy all the time. I don't think we always often make time to sit. We sit because Lord, it's been the end of the day. Right. But do we intentionally go, you know what, the next 20 minutes, let me just put on my calendar and recharge. Yeah.
Be still.
Be still and know. Yeah, so with that, we're at our halfway point. We got a little break for us coming up, so we are just Jovette moment. So right after the break, we'll come right back. Enjoy the Just Jovette moment.
So it's day one, Monday, and I'm gonna show y'all where we're pulling up to. Okay. But I'm not getting anything. Okay. I'm not. Today, it's a Tuesday that I am recording this here video, and I was very hungry this morning, so I decided to make a taco in addition to my protein smoothie. This morning we having blueberry muffin, just moved blueberry muffin. Yeah. The struggles of life are real, and I just wanted to come and say that, and we're gonna see how I progress through the day, taking it one step at a time. We make the choice. So what you gonna choose today? Yeah, yesterday was a rough day, a super rough day. I won't say it was like the worst day, because I was very cognizant of my decisions that I was making, right? Because we're on this choices journey, but I had a couple of bad choices, and they involved chips. They did, and that's okay. That's okay. It also involved peach cobbler, which was and I enjoyed it so much, and it made my little heart happy. But we back on it today. You're gonna have those days where you break down, but the question is, what do you do to pick it back up? And that's typically where I have my pitfalls. Right? It was only Tuesday, but I had a lot of influences. But today's Wednesday. It's a new day. We sticking with it. Have my Just Move shake, blueberry muffin, because that's what we rocking with. I went back to the barista, the Khalifa Farms, however you say it, barista oat milk, because to me it's so much better than the regular oat milk. It costs more. It costs a lot more, like $1 and something more for the barista, and you get 2 less servings. So in one box it's only 4 servings versus the regular carton or jug, whatever you call it, of the regular almond milk is like 6 servings. So you weigh your pros and cons, but the fact that it tastes so much more delicious, it's like, yeah, because you get a few more calories. You wouldn't think 20 calories per serving makes a taste difference, but it does. But we back on it Tuesday. Let's see what the rest of the day holds. Yeah, let's go. Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, this week has turned into like horrible planning, right? And what did Benjamin Franklin say? When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's literally where I'm at right now. My lack of planning is causing a debacle. And I'm also choosing convenience I'm just choosing convenience. Okay. But that's okay. So that's my Thursday update for now. We're gonna keep it pushing, keep it moving. We still tracking, so don't discount that. And whatever your journey is, keep that up, keep it going, and we'll see. Deviation, boy, don't let a deviation distract you. Cause right now I'm letting deviation distract me. You could just throw that, hang it up. Thursday was a complete debacle. But that's okay. Friday, I came back and I picked it up. Friday, I hit my morning shake. And today, I hit my morning shake. I did pretty good. Right now, I'm struggling with making sure I don't get a slice of key lime pie. Because folks, decide to put things in the house, that, they a little rough on you sometimes, But I can't have 2 slices in one day. That's a word of encouragement, though. A lot of times you can have things. You just got to figure out how to work them in appropriately. And yeah, but tomorrow is where I begin the new week with the new refocus and all of those things. So cheers to it, and we're gonna keep staying with it, keep pushing forward. So I hope your week was just as blessed as my week, even though we had some ups and downs. The thing is, don't give up, keep pushing, persevere in spite of, right? So I started off at 292. That's where we were. Actually, it was 293. And right now, 2 weeks later, 1 week of me documenting for this, but 2 weeks later, we are at 289. So that's really how I want to do it and how I want to keep it. And so 1 to 2 pounds a week is how I want to structure it. But we're pushing the macros this week. We're pushing the planning. So let's make sure we plan and we do all of the things. And I appreciate y'all. Peace out. One love. Jesus Christ. Remember that. Let's go.
Wow. Joey had an interesting week, didn't she? Now we're going to talk back. We're coming back to this whole lymphatic system, all of those things we were talking about, dealing with forest bathing and just taking care of mental health. We want to talk about the vagus nerve. We touched upon it a little earlier. So give us a little bit more about the vagus nerve.
Yes. So when we were putting our hands on our chest, I was mentioning that we were activating or soothing the vagus nerve. And so with the vagus nerve is also known as, it's like the information highway, if of your body, if you say you will. And so this nerve is actual organ in our body, and so it's from the back of our neck. It's a long nerve, one of the longest ones we have in our body, down past our belly, and so it's a long organ basically. And so with that, the job of this vagus nerve is it's constantly opening and closing, and it's viewing your surroundings, scanning the environment 24/7, constantly saying, "Am I safe? Am I not safe? Am I safe? Am I not safe?" So it's this fight or flight that we go into. This vagus nerve is a part of that. So it's constantly activating and saying, "Hey, I'm safe." So when we put our hands on our chest, we're saying, as a body position, I am safe. And when we breathe, that inhale, exhale, that's soothing that vagus nerve, telling us that we are safe. So when you hear people say, "Hey, take a breath. You're on 10 right now. Take a breath." That's because, yep, it's clicking. It's massaging that vagus nerve.
It depends on how they say it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. That's why, like,
It's one of those statements that says you be quiet, but the reality of it is we walk around with so much anxiousness and so much stress, and because of the environment and the climate we're in right now, that we don't recognize that we're tense the majority of the time. Because again, in the forest bathing, I'm recognizing, Vicky Lynn, you need to chill more often. You need to incorporate that chill factor into your life a little bit more often, because I recognize where I am. I recognize where I live. I recognize the climate that I'm living in, but I don't have to let it impact me in an unhealthy way.
Right.
Where I'm affected physically. And look, because I'm trying to be here for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to shorten my life by allowing outside forces to impact me that way.
For sure.
And there are certain places I just have to accept that, I can't be safe, and it's a mindset.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes we don't know that we're operating on 10.
Yeah.
And until you stop and take that breath, just to go, wait a minute, where am I? And then get recentered with yourself. You might not know. I mean, you will end up blowing a gasket.
Exactly.
So it's so key, and we have to also give ourselves and others grace during this time. I mean, I don't know if everybody has tools or knows how to. How do I decompress? How do I decompress? Because it may be different for individuals.
It is.
And so, I don't. That's something that maybe through counseling. I mean, I'm so grateful now we're in 2024, and in the church we're talking about counselors. Like, yes, thank you, Lord. I mean, I appreciate the pastor, preacher, all of that. But sometimes we can be so spiritualized, we forget we're human bodies, and we got to take care of this as well as our spirituality. So it's great that that's happening. How are you seeing men? I mean, are you seeing an increase in men counseling and all of that, or what is your perspective?
Yeah, my experience is I am seeing guys coming to therapy. I do need to see more. So whoever's seeing this, I need to see more men in therapy. Why? Because there aren't a lot. There aren't a lot of men in therapy. Women are predominantly seeking therapy, and that's the truth. And so going back to it, I do want to also share that Black and brown people are the lowest ethnicity group when we're thinking about seeking therapy. And so Black men and Black women are the lowest in that. So going back to it, Black men, we are at the bottom of statistically researched. So that's why I love to be a light for us Black men, for us people of color, that for one, we need to go to therapy. We can seek therapy, and there are people like myself here to help you.
So to dispel or to clarify, what is therapy and what am I not going to get in therapy?
Okay. So what therapy is a safe place. right? To talk. Confidentiality is my favorite word when talking about therapy, because nobody's like going to. I'm not going to share what we talk about in therapy. What me and my clients talk about is between me and my clients. Period. Nobody else. And that's such a safe thing and a healthy thing, because people are holding so much trauma because of shame of not being able to talk about whatever happened to them. And the research shows that trauma is formed when we don't talk about what happened. The trauma is formed when we don't talk about what happened. Anything. So and I like to think about trauma as like a dust ball or a dirt ball that's just accumulating. It's just accumulating over time, over years, over time, over years, and now it's a big problem. It went to something small to something really big. So therapy is a place where you're a safe place, and going back to it, we feel when we're safe. So we're able to talk more, we're able to express more, and that's the foundation. And then you're able to build skills. Practical, like we talked about before. Sometimes we don't know how to self-regulate, and not knowing how is the issue. We don't know how. Maybe we're not in the right environments. We're not in therapy, meaning, and so we're able to be in front of a professional that has the skills, the competencies to teach us in our specific ways in which we need.
Let me ask this question, because I know you came from a defense. You were a defensive end,
yes,
correct?
Defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle. Now y'all know. I don't know these positions. Y'all don't know football, but and so what you learned on the field and how to operate in that. I'm gonna make a general statement, but most, especially black men, don't recognize how important the spectrum of emotions that we have are.
Huge.
And that they don't, and sometimes we don't either, know how to express that, and that it's important for us to be able to express it. So my anger, and being in this field, being a therapist, and then being and working with people, you often hear black women are angry.
Yes.
Black men are angry, but there's something behind that.
Right.
The anger is just there to hide the pain that exists, because in my culture, I've been taught that anger is the safest thing for me to do.
Right.
And that's how to bag people off my behind.
Right.
That's the other thing. But it's that safe space. It's a safe emotion, and so we either express it. It's safe for us to be angry, and it's safe for us to be happy. But it's not safe for us to experience or show hurt, or pain, or vulnerability.
Yep.
Because then we're perceived to be weak.
Yes.
And as a culture, we cannot afford that.
Yep.
And so now but what is it causing us to do? Have heart attacks?
Okay.
All the stuff.
Stress.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier us not being able to talk to each other and conversate. Well, how can we conversate if we don't have the language to do so?
Yes.
Right.
And Vicky, oh man, that was a gold mine on what you were just speaking on. And when I think about men, a lot of the men sometimes I work with, they don't have the emotional vocabulary.
There it is.
They have 2 or 3 fundamental emotions. I'm mad, I'm happy. I'm happy or I'm mad. But so maybe you're not mad, you're frustrated. Maybe you're not mad, you're confused.
Yeah.
And so there's other emotions, stem out from mad. Maybe I'm happy. And there's other things associated with happy. I'm surprised.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm not necessarily happy. I'm excited today. Or there's a difference and there's similarities. So just helping our men expand our vocabulary, and that's so good.
But you said something right, because I think there are differences in the emotions and in the words, but I think sometimes we lump it all together.
Exactly.
And we say, no, this is what it is. It's all the same thing.
Yep.
But it's really not.
Not the same thing.
But we say that and we treat it as if. But you're right. If we can learn that, I'm confused. If I'm no longer confused, then I won't be angry.
Right.
If I'm no longer upset or these other pieces, if I fix that, it's not the angry.
Yeah. Or express it.
Yeah.
Because I think when we were talking earlier, I sometimes think about, it's like untrapped or trapped tears. Trapped tears, because that's where it is. It's like you can't release that, and it's you're talking about that trauma. And trauma for everybody is different. My trauma, your trauma, we experience trauma in different ways, and we do have generational trauma, y'all. But it's trapped, and we have to be able to release that. And being able to breathe, being able to get mindful, being able to think about certain things helps us to release that. But it is. I think sometimes our tears are just trapped within us. And so, when's the last time you asked somebody, when's the last time you cried?
Oh, man.
This morning.
Hello.
But that's a good point. And the other thing is, trauma is passed down from your parents in generations. You may not even know that it was passed down to you. And you think about it. I was talking to my mom the other day, and it hit me. We ordered something, and it was a lot of food. She's like, "We gotta eat it." It's like, I'm no longer hungry. No, we gotta eat all of this. Because when she came up, it was the Depression era. So you ate everything on your plate. You didn't waste it to survive. Well, that got passed down. Well, what do we do today? We don't. We got so much we throw away. But the point is, things are passed down in our environment and in our culture, and even physically passed down trauma. And so I inherit some things, and I don't know if this is the way I am. But it may be there's trauma there that I need to work through and say, why am I feeling this way?
But we talked a little earlier about the experience that people have when they do yoga, or they do Pilates, or they get a massage, and they start to emote. And that's because they have stuff trapped in their muscles or in their joints, and emotion is stuck there, and it releases that, and they have this flood of whatever going on. And what's interesting, I think, sometimes in the church is that during worship time, and people are crying and doing all, because you see a lot of tears at that time. Maybe that's at that point that we've learned how to release it. We're allowed to release it.
Allowed. Allowed.
Yes. And I think some of it goes while we're allowed, because we know we're in a safe space, and we know it's acceptable.
That's right there.
And so now with I'm praying that these conversations that we're having in our community will help to create it being acceptable. Pastors are now talking about, yes, I'm your pastor, but you may also need to seek professional counseling.
Because that's not a place. I'm thankful that pastors are saying, I'm a pastor, I'm not a therapist, and I don't need to. And what we do, because you're talking about somebody coming into your office, or even in mine, and they're sitting there with us. Number one, we're trained. We cannot, by law, say anything. We're not going to share anything that you tell us, except for a couple of things like suicide, homicide, the harm of somebody else. But the other piece of it is, we're taught how to not be judgmental. How to accept people where they are at that moment. And it's a trained thing, because TRAINED thing. We have to be able to sit with people where they are, no matter what their experiences are, and experience whatever that person is experiencing with them, and not judge them for who they are.
Well, you know what? In Sunday school, and BTU, and in Bible study, we should also be trained as discipleship to accept people as they are.
Oh, no, don't get me started.
But I'm gonna let that alone in the next segment. But you're right. At least, with your therapist, you have that trust there. And I think we were on to something. We were talking about being acceptable. Why is it acceptable in this space, but the same activity is not acceptable for me to go see you? See, that is culture.
It's culture. And you talked about a little bit the importance of mental health. There's two different. There's mental health and mental wellness, and you can see a therapist for both.
Okay.
You know, you have people that mental illness and mental wellness.
Yes.
And so many times we think if I go to a therapist and something's wrong
Something
with
wrong
me.
with me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, no, when you come see a therapist, most times, hopefully it's prevented, is I want to live well. It's not about you being sick. It's about you living up to your potential or living the best you can without all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Releasing some of that. But just getting to a space where I can live the best I can.
Right.
Yeah. You know, guess we have two options on this life. We can live positive. You can live and be alive, or you can really live. I don't want to just breathe. I want to live well.
Yeah.
I mean, I live long. I mean, I lived to 100 something, but I want to live well, and appreciate the days I have left.
Yeah. And you know that brings me up to something that I was actually talking about with my therapist. So going back to it, I'm a therapist that has a therapist, and so it's about wellness. It's not about anything other than outside of that. It's about thriving, and so my therapist actually helps me with longevity of activities that I can do. So sometimes it's like, oh, me being an athlete, I'm like, oh, I didn't go work out. I didn't do. Just like, well, did you walk? Can we walk? Can we do something outside? And can we think in another way? Can we do activities that I can literally do? And Vicky, you said what? Drink water, walk, and move,
and sleep.
Right.
So them are things you can do.
Yeah.
But you know, some people not sleeping well.
No, but that's because their minds are what?
Going.
And we don't recognize the importance of the water and what it does. Same thing, it just cleanses us.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes we celebrate and honor. Keep going, man. You know, I ain't slept in this. Yeah. There's a badge of honor that sometimes we wear that is celebrated for overworking. Go. Don't. What do you mean you staying at home? No, get out the bed. You gotta go. Yep. And that'll catch up to you.
And that's a societal thing.
Yes.
The money, all of that. We chasing it sometimes.
Yes.
Well, y'all I celebrate getting in my bed.
Me too.
Yeah.
In between. Man, this has been a great segment. We're almost out of time already. And so, as we close out, what are some things you'd like to share with the people about this season that we're in and where we're going?
This season can be a challenging season for people in general. Get you some adequate rest. Get you some adequate community. And if you're seeking and wanting to look for a mental health therapist, understand that we are out there. We are here to help you. Please follow me at Me and You Therapy on all platforms. And just, enjoy life and focus on thriving and not just living.
There you go.
Amen. Focus on thriving. And not just living. That's what we're doing in 2024 into 2025. So Jovette's going to take us out of here, and we appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate you
always
with this, and it was a really good segment. God bless y'all.
Oh, this is good. GoneMad production.
Yeah.
This is good.
That's the doctor singing.
Sitting all alone.
Yes, it is.
Looking out the window.